Hello, my name is Maurie. I'm here with my husband, Jim. Welcome to AI in Action. We hope that you guys are having a marvelous evening. We are going to talk about phone bans. We keep hearing about phone bans. It's everywhere. It's in the news. It's at our own school system. And we think that maybe we should ban phones. And then one day we think that maybe we should not ban phones. But I want to take just a minute to say something out loud. Who created the problem? That's what we need to figure out. Who created the problem? And is anyone really surprised that the screen is something that we get everything through? And then all of a sudden, when we try to take a screen away from somebody, they protest that we're taking that away. Is anyone surprised by that? That's the question. So tonight, we are going to talk about a few things. We're going to talk about what the problem really is. We're going to talk about who created this in the first place. We're going to talk about how to make phone bans actually work. And then we're going to kind of touch on, is there an actual sane way to do this or to fix this? Or are we just too late? Let's talk about phone bans.
First of all, I want to say it's not your fault that you have notes sitting there
Mhm.
because it's been one of those last week or so for me. I've been traveling back to the 1980s and 90s mentally.
Yes.
And so the phone ban became part of that because I started thinking about what's a world like without phones because I remember what the world was like without cell phones.
I remember what the world was like when you had to get the operator to connect you.
So your first question was,
Well, my first question was, who created this to begin with? What is the real problem? That to me is the first question that we need to cover. Are phones a real problem? Now, I'm in the classroom a lot. I step into classrooms. I was in the classroom not too many years ago, and I will tell you that teachers are not imagining this. Phones are a problem.
well, hold on. I don't necessarily, I agree with what you're saying, but I don't completely agree with it.
Okay, well, hold on. First, let me give you my premise first. Phones are the problem because they do divide attention. And when the student doesn't have the phone in front of them, many times the student is thinking about getting their phone. I have an actual example. I know a student who is on a 504, and that student was talking to me just the other day about how when they relocate to a different school, they want to make sure that they still get an extra 5 minutes every time they have to go to the ladies' room. And I'm like, Okay, why do you still need that 5 minutes? They are going to the ladies' room and getting on their phones. And they admitted that to me. And it's so the whole time they're sitting in class, they're thinking about getting on their phone. Now, this particular student is very addicted to playing games on their phone. So I understand that. But phones are a problem. That's your term. That's your
So is it
term.
my turn now?
Tell me, counter me.
Phones are not the problem.
Okay.
What you said earlier is the problem. When you're talking about system design, the first principle here has to do with what is the base problem. The base problem is attention. We have literally created a world, we call it the attention economy.
Yeah.
The phone happens to be the portal to most of the attention economy. But in reality, when you walk into the lunchroom and you see a kid who brought his game controller and hooked it up to his Chromebook, which I don't really know how he's doing that, Bluetooth, I guess, they're desperate for dopamine hits. It's an attention economy problem. The teachers care less about the phones. What they care about is getting their attention, and they know they're not going to get it if that phone's in the classroom.
All right, I'll concede. I'll
So
concede that point. You are correct. The phone is not the issue. It's just another screen that we're getting information
screens in
through.
general are the issue. And no, we're not I'm not anti-technology suddenly, though I have spent a lot of time in the last week or so talking about them. I even made you watch a movie from 1983, War
War
Games, the
games.
original. So phones are a symptom, not the cause, in my opinion.
Okay. Well,
And
they're the avenue. They're the avenue
they're
to
the
what they're
portal.
looking.
They're the portal into all this attention economy. And nobody's
Okay.
apologizing for that either.
Okay. And schools are competing with all of those tools. I mean, when we were in school, It was competing with us getting out so we could go down to Blue Hole and,
Well,
hang out with our
with
friends
us, it's passing notes in class, or it was trying to get out of class and run up down the hallways.
or drive to
Now,
Austin and go to a rock concert.
they want to get in the hallways and they can be on their phone. We wanted to get in the hallways just because we didn't want to be in class.
Right.
Anyway, the next part,
This is the thing that I really wanted, and that's why I said it out loud at the very beginning of the podcast. Who created this problem?
who made this mess?
Who made this mess? We are blaming kids for not having a good attention span.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when you think about it. I'm blaming a 12-year-old because the 12-year-old wants to be on their phone all the time and has no focus is kind of ironic, don't you think?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think that 12-year-old made Facebook. I don't think they made TikTok. I don't think they made the gazillion other things that get there. They didn't make all the video games. And who protests the loudest when you take the phones away?
The parents,
The parents
they
typically
do.
they want they want you to take the phones away, but they want to be able to text their kids during the day. What did a parent do in our day when they need to contact a kid at school?
You called the front office and left a
He
message.
left a message and they delivered a note to class, assuming it was important enough to do so.
Mhm.
Well, what if I need to get a hold of them because their ride changes? Well, our ride changed too.
Mm-hmm.
They sent a note to the office.
Right.
And somehow we survived.
We're guilty of this too. I mean, do you remember the app Life 360?
Oh, we're guilty long before that. We tried to keep the phones out of the hands of our oldest son. He's a millennial, born
Mhm.
1995.
Mm-hmm.
It was a long time before we gave him a phone. Finally gave him a flip phone. He broke about 4 of them. But then before we gave him one, though, he was doing youth football.
And I was
And
late.
you were late getting him. I was in a school board meeting nearby. He comes walking in his full football uniform.
Yeah.
Dad, Mom forgot me again. I was like, Jacob, she didn't forget you again.
I'm late.
She's a little late, so just chill and go sit outside. So we got him a phone. Our daughter would be late coming back from a band contest. Somehow, when we were kids, we were late coming back, but the parents just ended up
We
sitting
just
in the
sat
parking
there.
lot for hours and hours. But now they want to. We have our son.
It's a convenience.
It's a convenience for the parents,
Yes.
not just for the kids.
Yes.
So they both protest.
So what we're saying is that
it wasn't created by the
students
kids.
did not create this environment. We did. And it brought to mind a quote from, I think it was Thomas More's Utopia. There was a quote, and basically, just to put it in a nutshell, that the quote basically says that we train behavior and then we punish the result of that behavior.
Yeah, and Thomas Paine's exact quote was a little not
Thomas More's.
Thomas More. I'm sorry, Thomas. Is it Thomas More?
Thomas More.
Was it Thomas More?
Mm-hmm.
You wrote Utopia. Anyway, Utopia was a little darker than what we're talking about.
Right.
But it is the same idea. Like you said, you
train the behavior,
train
and
the
then you
behavior,
punish the
and then you
behavior.
punish the behavior. I hear it all the time. People talk about kids all the time and their
So,
TikTok habits.
yeah, I mean, you see these little kids on TikTok who've been taught how to like say a bad word or something like that, and then all of a sudden, when it's not cute anymore, they get in trouble for saying the bad word. Yeah,
Yes.
so it's messed up. It's a
So,
messed up behavior.
The messed up behavior didn't come from the kids. The kids are just the end result of a culture that's attention economy.
Mm-hmm.
That is, I have to be in contact with you at all times. You can never be out of contact with me,
If I can't actually talk to you, I'm
If
going to
I-
have you on an app so I can see exactly where you're at.
which is what you were about to talk about a second ago,
Yeah,
which is
Live
Live 360,
360.
which is an app I truly hated, but it was extremely convenient because it told us exactly where our kids were, which is just
Jacob's on
creepy.
his way home. Yeah.
It's just creepy. Our daughter had that on her phone when she was in college. We told them, as long as you pay for your phone, we have to know. We're Gen X's. We should never do that. Our parents
But they were
were raised like
kids.
feral cats.
Our kids, though. We had to protect them.
I know.
and
Somehow
honestly,
we survived.
I think you have a lot of people, you included, that were raised like a feral cat. And you always said that you were like an ex-smoker when it came to our kids.
Yeah.
It's like because
Nobody
you had
hates smokers like an ex-smoker.
because you had so much freedom as a child and you did
All the things.
so many things that were probably very dangerous. You're like, okay, and it's almost like the pendulum went the other direction. And I think that our generation, many of us did kind of like tighten tighten the noose just a little bit too much. And now we're
Well,
like, oh
the
no,
news media didn't help when
no,
every time a kid got kidnapped
no,
anywhere on planet
it
Earth,
was everywhere.
we heard about it. And
Mhm.
so you're like, oh my God, that could have been my kid.
Yeah,
And I'm going to be a horrible parent because I let my kid play in the front yard.
right. It's 10 o'clock. Do you know where your kids are?
That's what they told us.
Yeah.
And our parents' answer was, not really.
Oh.
Not really.
So let's
All
get
right,
down
what's
to the
next?
next thing we really want to talk about. Should schools ban phones?
The answer is yes.
Okay. I did agree with you.
The problem is that we created this monstrosity. We call
Mhm.
it the social media dumpster fire. We created this. You can't fix it and have the phones in their hands. We've tried. Our oldest son, back, because he's a millennial, he's a little older. He could text without looking at it. It had
The quirky
the
keyboard.
T9, it had the T9 text thing where you had the
Mhm,
multiple letters per letter
mhm.
on the per number. He could text with it in his hoodie without looking at it. If he could have got a phone that would have given him answers in braille, he would have had that phone just because he could listen, he could read the text with it in his hoodie.
Right,
So,
right.
I mean, you saw it on a different level when you had your makerspace. And it was video games at the time, but the problem was the same is you couldn't, even the kids that were in there because they were GT kids and they were supposed to be the ones that you were, teaching the class for. If you let them touch a video game,
I
and
lost them.
you lost them, and it's the same it's the same cultural problem.
Right,
It's the attention
right.
economy. We're not just they're not fighting for it now, they're demanding it.
Well, I mean, phones do disrupt learning, and schools
A lack of attention disrupts learning.
and or yes, attention grabbers, something other than what you're currently
Yeah,
doing
because you're
in
not
the
paying attention to
classroom.
what you're trying to
Right.
teach.
So that disrupts the learning environment.
Yes.
Schools do have a responsibility to like protect that classroom environment
What we
because
have a responsibility to do is make sure they pass high stakes tests. And
that is a totally
they can't
different
do that
podcast.
if they're spending all of
Well,
their time on the
what
phone.
what educators have a responsibility to do is to educate. That's what educators have a responsibility to do. It's not our
Not
fault.
according to law.
It's not our
According to law,
fault that the state got involved.
we have to
But
pass the high stakes test.
classroom restrictions do make sense. My point back to you is that all day bans are very complicated. I know a lot of schools have decided to have like you're allowed to have them at your lunch break, or you're allowed to
It's
have
too
them.
hard to do
Yeah.
that. Because that means you have to give it back to them, or you have to let them have it out, and then you have to there's a reason why they banned us from leaving campus during lunch because it's hard to get us to
Let's
come
not
back.
talk about that.
It was hard to get us to come back.
Well, not
So
only was it hard to get us to come back, it was hard to get us to come back sober.
well, not me, but
Uh,
I was innocent of all
that was a lot of problems that we were having. But
for other people.
it's
Anyway,
really difficult to have a policy that you can be enforcing on a consistent basis.
yeah, and the problem is that your natural instinct is to say, tell the parents to leave phones at home. The parents are like, "What if I'm late coming out? They gotta have it after school." So then they say, "Well, I don't want them to have it out, but if they get the opportunity, they're gonna have it out." Well, they're gonna have it out because they're gonna try to hide it.
Mhm,
Well, then they're gonna try to hide it, then they're gonna try to have their Apple Watch.
mhm.
I mean, what do these people do? What does Meta think's gonna happen when they give the kids glasses that are prescription
It's already
glasses
happening.
that have screens on them?
It's already happening.
And they have a camera on the front, and
Right.
my Apple Watch, I can text on my watch if my fingers are tiny enough,
Mhm.
and kids can figure it out. So what do we have to do? We had to tell kids they couldn't have their Apple Watch. Well, what are you gonna do? We only have, what, 500 kids at our high school?
Yeah,
We
I
gotta
love
make sure
that.
everyone powers it off, or we could buy little bags for 20 bucks
A
each.
lot of companies are making a lot of money on that.
Again, it's this phone ban is so complicated and so expensive.
Mhm.
When the state made the law, did they allocate more funds to carry out that? No, it's an
Never.
unfunded
Yeah.
mandate.
So let's talk about that culture. Let's talk about the culture that we have created. I mean,
Okay.
we're saying that we do need a phone ban, but
Right.
it's not just the phone. We've already said it's not just the phone. It is the screens. It is the attention economy. It is you know, I no longer get paper bills for anything.
I got some great
All
quotes.
my bills,
I got some great quotes.
all my bills come through email. How do I get my email? Through a screen or on my phone.
I got some great quotes.
Okay, give me some quotes.
You already said one. We gave kids a screen-centered world, then punished them for being screen-centered.
Hmm.
Okay. Phone bans without culture change are just confiscation with paperwork. I like that one.
It's true.
Parents want phones banned until they can't text their own kid. We talked
True.
about that one.
We had to make absolutely sure that that phone in the front office was working for outside and inside calls.
These next two are kind of funny. The goal is I got these phones, I mean, these quotes like through Reddit and different
Okay.
places.
All right.
The goal is not phone-free schools. The goal is attention-rich classrooms. I like that. I like that.
That should be the goal.
We are not anti-screen. We're pro-purpose.
That's another good one.
Somebody was
I
clever.
think I like that one you just said about the rich.
Attention-rich classrooms.
Yes, the attention-rich classroom.
We were just talking about this, and the policy teachers cannot enforce consistently is not a policy.
See, and we had that problem when I was a junior high teacher. One teacher allowed it, the other teacher did not. One teacher allowed it, the other teacher did not. So it has to be consistent across the
So
board.
we know what created it.
Mhm.
We know the parents are contradicting themselves on it.
Yeah.
So what was the next thing I babbled about for 30 minutes?
The next thing you babbled about for about 30 minutes was what actually would work. How do we fix this problem? And it is, you and I both agree that we have set up an environment, we have set up a culture to where everything comes through a screen.
Mhm.
Everything comes through the screen.
Which really hurts my 80-something-year-old mom because she can't even pay her own bills because
I
it's too
know,
complicated.
I know.
Yes. everything
So
goes through the screen.
what's going to actually work to fix this?
If we're talking about education specifically,
Well, I think we should. I mean, we need to have some practical takeaways here to where
The
it's like,
practical
okay, if I was gonna listen to this podcast and listen to Maurie and Jim babble on about phone bans, what are my action items? Like, what do I have to do if I'm going to go back to my school, if I'm going to go back to my district, and I'm going to say we need to ban phones? How can I make it work in my district?
I can tell you how it would work, but nobody is going to find it to be popular.
Okay.
We're going to have to take a step back to the 1980s. You tell the parents the kid can't bring a phone to school at all. Phones stay home. You ban them. They stay home. What if I need to contact my kid? Then you do it the way they
Well,
contact
the kid can leave it in the car.
The kid can leave it in their car, then the car gets broken into because people want to steal their iPhones.
We had rifles on gun racks. I mean, come on. Have your alarm go off if somebody breaks into your car.
Junior high kids don't have a car.
Okay.
Elementary kids don't have a car,
Okay.
but they have cell phones. High school kids don't have a car until they're sophomores, some of them.
So the parent can give the kid the phone when they pick them up from school.
Just flat. And when you pick the kid up, you hand them a phone if it's that important. And if you need to contact the kid, you send a message to the office. Now, the school districts have to have very strict policies.
That was
The
what I
school
was
district
gonna point out.
cannot decide, well, this message is not that important.
Right.
They don't get to decide that.
Right.
If the parent just wants to say, hey, how are you doing? The schools are going to have to allow it. And they're not going to like it because it's going to be at 4 million, but they're going to have to. The parents will self-regulate over time. Not every parents are going to realize how silly it sounds eventually that you send your kid a little cheerful note to say, hey, I hope you're having a great day. They're going to stop doing that as much because they didn't do that when we were kids.
We turned out just
fine. But the culture is so deep now, there's no way you can have the phones. And the only alternative is the dog's having a bad dream.
Sadie's.
The only alternative is that they give us the funding to put these phones in bags.
Right.
But then you've got to keep up with the bags. And we talked about that when you change classes, where you'd have a thing on the wall where, but they don't want kids carrying backpacks anymore.
Well, and it's, I mean, we used to have lockers.
We had lockers and we had backpacks.
We had lockers that locked. I mean, you come in and you put everything in your locker.
Because they said the schools are going to have to make some compromises. They're not going to the parents are going to have to make compromises. They don't if you want it to work.
Right.
Now, if your goal is to make everybody happy, then
first of all, that can't be a goal.
No water.
That doesn't happen.
So number one, the parents have to realize that they have to cooperate. And the best way to do that is the fun stay at home.
To me.
Number two, the schools have to bend a little bit on messaging kids during school and getting kids, in notifications. They can't say, oops, I forgot. They can't say, I don't have enough people in the office. Or the state's going to have to give the schools funding to allow the bags.
Okay.
Because we cannot afford those bags. There's too many of them.
So what my notes said over here when it came to like a 4-part framework is what districts should be looking at. And it had a lot to do with what you just said.
All right, go for it. That was my opinion. So
I think
give me yours.
The first thing you have to have is a purpose as to why you're doing this.
Get attention back. That's an
Right.
easy one. What's
Right.
next?
So you have to have a clear purpose. You have to say, why is that rule in place? That rule is in place because we have lost the attention of our kids. We've got to get the
Mhm.
attention back. Okay. The boundaries, which is what you talked
That's what
about,
I was just talking about.
got to have clear boundaries. When can you and when can you not? You have to give them the message. You have to deliver what you have to deliver. You have to have those boundaries. The next one is who enforces it and how do they enforce it?
That's the hardest one
That's the hardest one
because
because I
they dump it
promise
on the
you,
assistant principal
they
mostly.
they dump it on the assistant principal or they dump it to the teachers.
That's the worst is when they
And
dump
when
it
the
to the teacher.
teachers have to enforce it, you're going to have a veteran teacher who is very accustomed to classroom management and very accustomed to being the bad guy. And you're going to have a newbie that just wants to be the kid's friends.
We had a kid several years ago that the teacher took up his cell phone and his
Pack of
pack of
smokes.
cigarettes, and he literally tried to destroy the school. He
Yes.
stole a van, drove it through the front of our high school.
Yes.
He almost destroyed the entire he tore up our van too. That's a
Yeah.
whole different
He
story.
did a lot of destruction
Just because he wanted his cell phone back
and his pack of
and his pack
smokes.
of smokes. I don't know which one he wanted worse.
I
So
know.
some kid that's why teachers can't be the ones that enforce it though.
Right.
Teachers are trying to develop a rapport with the kids. And if they are always the ones that have to lay down the law to the kids, then the rapport gets destroyed. So
Right.
I agree with you. So
So
clear
you have to
enforcement.
have who enforces it. And then you have to have adult agreement, like you just said.
Yeah, that's
Everyone has
most
to be on the same page. Everyone has to
some
know.
parents aren't going to cooperate. They're just going to simply say, my kid has to have a phone. But luckily, the state did do one thing
They
right.
did.
They passed a law,
Yep.
which means the schools are off the hook for it's not the school's fault, but some of the schools are opting out of the phone bans. I don't know how you do that. But I
I
heard
don't
that
either.
some of the schools their school boards voting to opt out. I didn't think you could do that.
No, at the very beginning, the school board had to vote on it.
Yeah, but it's a state law.
Maybe it is now,
It
and it
is.
wasn't then.
Maybe that was just fake news.
I don't know.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Anyway, continue. What's next?
So, what is the? It says that. Let's talk about the bigger idea. Let's talk about the. You know, we are not anti-tech.
Okay, was this part of my babbling?
Yes, it was. Because once we start talking about those little bitty cell phones, and we start talking about,
Oh,
you
yeah,
know,
I expanded on into screenless classrooms. That's what we
yes,
watched war games too.
yes. So let's talk about that for a second. I mean, we're not anti-technology. You're an engineer. I was in the technology space for years and years and years. Um, we are into intentional technology.
That is a big one for me. Intentional technology is a big buzz phrase for me. I have never liked the way technology is put in schools. And I've been in a school district for 21 years. And I had a plan initially on how it should be integrated in, and it's not how what we have. I've put it in the way I put it in to fill the needs of the state requirements like Chromebooks, for example. But I have never thought that the best learning paradigm was for a kid to have a screen open in a classroom.
Right.
I also don't think that there was this push for a while to have learning involve the phone. In other words, the kids
Right. Take it out. Let's do some research or,
that
you know,
was always ridiculous. The bring your own device thing was always
hmm,
ridiculous. So the bigger idea for me is how do we recapture kids' attention? And it's going to be like a drug withdrawal. I mean, you're talking about kids that were literally every single thing, their entertainment, their social interaction, their paying their bills, which kids don't want to do, but everything about their
oh,
life.
Venmo.
Venmo, that's true.
I
They know
mean,
each other.
yeah,
All that stuff was coming through their phone. So it's going to be like a withdrawal symptoms.
it is a withdrawal symptom.
But at the end of the day, if you can't get their attention back, if you can't find a way to get them to
Re-engaged in learning.
re-engaged in learning, then they're I don't care. These high stakes tests aren't going to work either.
Mm-mm.
Nothing works unless you want to learn something.
So it sounds like what we need to do is we don't need to say, hey, the question isn't whether or not we should ban a phone or ban a screen, because a lot of people are saying now we just need to ban technology. If I hear one more time, well, we had Big Chief tablets and number two pencils, it's like, yeah, but that's not the world we live in today.
Well,
But maybe we should say that, the learning environment kind of needs to be rebuilt, revamped.
we're working on that. If I could get somebody to give me the financing through our nonprofit to set up a pilot school that I want to set up here,
Hmm.
I would love to. I've got some really good ideas, I think. They sound good to me anyway, about how to recapture the classroom. But having just a piece of paper for people to write on, you and I have talked about this in previous podcasts. It's overly simplifying the problem whenever you start talking about phones being the only problem, or you start talking about Chromebooks and screens being the only problem. There's a lot of other problems.
Teachers have a lot of bigger fish to fry.
Well, that was a
Thank
nice
you.
plug.
Thank
Well, but if you think about it, I had a principal tell me once. He said there's 20 something kids in a classroom, and half of them are on some kind of plan.
Yes.
How is a teacher supposed to do accommodations for 15 kids out of 24 kids, 12 kids out of 24 kids? How are they supposed to do these accommodations without technology?
Yeah.
I mean, your pencil and paper sounds great. How are you going to do that with pencil and paper?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. I mean, if someone out there can tell me how, it works fine if you say, well, they're going to write their English paper on a piece of, okay, English isn't the only subject. What if the kid has, I mean,
Dysgraphia or, any of
and
those things.
we dealt with those things when we were kids by just passing the kid. Everybody knew
Well,
they were doing it.
and
Everybody knew, what if the kid, can't write well?
right,
And oh, by the way, we've also created this culture mess where we took writing out of
right.
schools.
They
So
don't
suddenly you're
learn.
going to write everything by hand, except they never learned how to write.
Right.
When was the last time we taught cursive? I mean, they barely.
Some schools do, but some schools
I
don't.
have seen kids write. We have interns that work for us over the summer. When
Could
I
not
look,
read it.
they look like they wrote in crayon. I asked one of them, I said, "Did you write this in crayon?" That is your handwriting makes mine look good. Oh, is that an HR violation?
Yeah.
It's not. You can make fun of people's handwriting, can't you?
You can make fun of anybody you want to make fun of. So our point that we are making is that if we have built a screen-centered world, we cannot act surprised when our students become screen-centered.
The second point is you can't oversimplify the problem by just saying banning the screens is the solution.
You're going to have to fix
There's
the
a lot.
culture, the environment.
And that takes, they talk all the time here in Texas about wanting to allow parents to be more involved with schools and know what books the kids check out and all this other stuff, which is that helicopter parenting problem. But if parents truly want to be involved, then they have to be, it can't just be, I'm dictating to the school district what I want my kids' stuff to be like. It has to be, it's a partnership now.
Yeah.
That means making compromises like, for example, not letting your kid take their cell phone to school and be willing to go through the office and have a little less convenience to get your son's
Lunch handed to
their
them.
lunch orders. I mean, it's ridiculous.
Mhm.
You look at it and mom and dad are like, they take their kids' lunch orders. I've been at the high school and there was 12 lunches lined up across there.
Easily. That was
I'm
just
like,
first lunch.
and I'm like, really?
So I want to bring up a little story. Remember when our oldest son was having problems in Spanish class when he was in junior high?
Yes.
And what did I do to help fix the problem?
You went and sat in the classroom.
I went and sat in the classroom.
I'm sure they want all parents sitting in classrooms.
I'm saying that, sometimes could I have put him a little message in his lunchbox? Hey, how was Spanish today? Could I have sent him a text message? Hey, don't forget to do this. No, I sat and you know what happened? I only had to sit in that classroom twice. And all of a sudden my son was taking Spanish a little more
I
seriously.
don't think we want 24 kids. I do think
It's not going to be all 24
I think
parents.
your point is, though, is parental involvement
Mm-hmm.
there has to be a willingness to compromise by the parent. The problem I see with the parents who talk about wanting to be more involved is they want to be more involved on their own terms.
Well,
And that's complicated.
let's
when
talk
there's
about that.
24 kids.
Let's talk about that for just a second. We did put, the big Texas law that came in about how the parents had to be able to see the books.
Every book the kid was
Every book
checking
to
out.
check,
Yes.
every
And
single one.
that was an unfunded mandate.
Unfunded mandate. We put the software in, and then the parents signed up for that software so they would get notifications.
And how many parents?
We have 2,000 students, and we had 5
I didn't think we had
parents.
5.
We had 2 at elementary, 2 at high school, and 1 at the junior high.
And
None of the parents signed up for
we
it.
spent all this money.
Thousands of dollars.
And the loud, passionate parents. And again, it used to be a partnership between the schools, the community, the parents. It was more of a partnership.
Mhm.
It's gotten so adversarial that things like phone bans become these political hot potatoes. And the schools don't want to mess with them because they know where this is going.
Right.
You're going to have this group of extremely loud vocal parents who are going to blame it on the kids. I would imagine that at least the school administrators did a sigh of relief and went, at least they passed a freaking law.
Right. Because now we say we have to do this.
So
I
don't
agree.
oversimplify the problem, folks. And well, more likely, don't oversimplify the solution to the problem
That's right.
because the
So I'm
problem is
curious.
much wider.
We're picking up some listeners, and if you're a new listener, welcome to the podcast family. We have been doing this for almost 4 years, but I want to ask, what do you think? Right? As an audience, you can always make a comment. You can always drop a comment on Spotify, Apple,
On
iTunes,
YouTube,
on YouTube, whatever. Um, Do you think that it should be like a classroom only phone ban and they should be able to have it during passing periods and stuff like that? Do you think it should be a full day phone ban, or do you think that we should just like go, you know what, we created it, now let's live with it. So, and just not have a phone ban. So
could
I'm
I vote?
curious what you're going to say.
Could I vote?
You can vote.
We should go back to the 1980s.
That's just because you want to wake up in the mornings and not like sore and feel old.
That would be nice
Yeah,
too.
that would
But
be nice.
I don't. I'm just having a little nostalgia lately for the 80s.
Yeah.
Maybe it is because I've got aches and pains.
Maybe that's
Maybe
it.
that's the nostalgia.
Absolutely.
Anyway,
So we are out of time. My name is Maury. I'm here with my husband, Jim. I almost said Tim. Did I say Tim? I'm here with my husband, Jim.
that was your first husband. Or second husband.
Thank you guys for listening. We hope y'all have a marvelous rest of the week.